Do you feel awkward in a conversation even when you know what to say? Hello and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new to this channel, then I welcome you to my channel. My name is Madhurana, and on this channel, I talk about communication. So if you want to communicate with confidence and clarity, then you are at the right place. Coming back to the topic where I was asking you, you know, it may have happened to you that you feel awkward in a conversation, in a daily conversation, even though you know what to say. Let's discuss why this happened and how you can resolve this in this video in detail. Let's talk about a misunderstanding which people have. People think that confidence is all about big speeches and big events or talking in big events. But here's the truth: confidence is not only about speeches in big events or big speeches. Confidence, the real confidence, shows up in the daily interactions which you have. Because my dear friend, big confidence is built through small conversations. Let's understand and discuss this in detail. Now, let's talk about why your conversations seems awkward. The conversations, your conversations seems awkward because of the following four reasons. Number one is you're overthinking what to say. Yes, when you're speaking to someone or when you're having the daily interactions or daily conversations with your friends or with your colleagues, then you're overthinking what to say. This makes the conversation awkward. The second reason is the fear of judgment. Yes, you have the fear of judgment that, what if I create a mistake? People will judge me. What if I do not sound perfect? Then people would judge me. So you have a fear of judgment due to which, again, you are thinking in your head, and that makes the conversation awkward. The third reason is you're trying to sound perfect in the conversation. Yes, the conversations become awkward because you're trying to sound perfect, you are looking for perfect words, you think that, big words creates big impact. Again, you are continuously thinking in your head, and that again makes the conversation awkward. Another reason which makes the conversation awkward is you're focusing too much on yourself. Yes, you heard that right. The conversations become awkward because you are focusing too much on yourself. You're thinking too much about yourself that again this relates to the fear where you are thinking that what if I create a mistake? Sorry, what if I create a mistake? I need to have the perfect words. So you're focusing too much on yourself. How am I looking? How am I talking? So you're thinking too much about yourself. Again, this will going to make the conversation awkward. So these are broadly the four reasons which makes the everyday conversations awkward. Fear of judgment, trying to be perfect, focusing too much on yourself, and overthinking too much on what to say. So these facts or these things makes the conversation awkward. Now, let's also talk about the mistakes or the common mistakes which you must be doing in your everyday conversations, and this again impact the everyday conversation. So first is, and we will also going to talk about what impact these mistakes will going to have on your conversation. So first is overthinking responses. So you are thinking too much about your responses when you're talking to someone. You're not focusing on listening to that person, and your focus is mainly on how you will respond. With this overthinking of the responses, it creates hesitation and it creates delay in your response. The second common mistake which you might be doing is trying to impress. And when you're trying to impress, instead of expressing yourself clearly, your tone becomes unnatural. That and that actually impacts your conversation. The third mistake which you might be doing is talking too much or talking too less. And this creates a imbalance in your conversation. So you might be talking too much, or you are just not talking accordingly, or you're talking too less. So this will create the imbalance in your everyday conversation. And the fourth mistake which you might be doing is you may not be asking the questions. And because you're not asking the questions, this means that there is a weak connection. So, I have a personal, I have a personal experience where when I talk to people in my everyday conversations, some of my friends or some of the people who I talk to will say me that, Madhu, you ask too many questions. But then I tell to them that, asking the question shows that I'm interested in your conversation. So, yes, my dear friend, asking the question is a good, is a good quality, and that shows that you are interested in the conversation and you are listening to that person actively, and that actually creates connection. So, those were the four common mistakes which you might be doing in your everyday conversations, and these mistakes actually impact your conversation. Now, that you know that what could be the mistakes which you might be creating in the everyday conversation, so let's talk about how a confident conversations look like. So in the confident conversation, there are the following things are there. First is small responses. Yes, your responses should not be like long responses. The responses should be to the point, accurate, and concise. And if your responses are small, then this will going to reduce overthinking. Yes, because if you're continuously thinking about your response, then that means you're overthinking, and you will not be able to show that, or the conversation will not going to look confident. So that's number one. The responses should be small. Okay. The second practice, which could make your conversations look confident, is you should be present in the moment. Yes, you should be present in the moment, and you should be listening to the person, which is also known as active listening. You should always listen to what the person is saying, and this will going to reduce the self consciousness, and this will going to show the conversation as a confident conversation. The third thing is you should ask the questions. Yes, you should always ask right questions in response to the person whom you are talking to. That shows that you are actually interested in the conversation, and that builds connections. And the fourth is you should speak in a balanced way. That is, you should not speak too much, but at the same time you should not be quiet. You should, as I mentioned, you should respond. Of course you should respond to the questions, but the responses should be small. And again, when you're talking, you should ask the right questions. So you should have a balanced speaking practice where you're not speaking too much, or we're not speaking too less. So those are the four practices which you could do to show yourself as confident in the conversations, or with these your conversations will going to become confident. Now, as always, now it's the time to talk about how to practice what we have learned. So, as I discussed in all the videos, I always tell you that how can you practice whatever we have discussed. So, in order to practice the small conversations, what you're going to do in your next conversation is you will not going to, or you will not try to impress while you're talking to someone. in, and we are just talking about the everyday conversations, like a conversation with your friend at college, conversation with your colleague at work. So in those conversations, you're going to do the following. You will not try to impress. You will ask one genuine question, and also you will respond simply. You will not going to overthink about your response, and your response should be a simple one. You will going to respond simply. So those are the three things which you will going to do in your next conversation. Let me repeat it. In the next conversation, you will not try to impress. You will respond simply with a simple response, and you will going to ask one genuine question. And that's how you can practice your daily real life conversations to build confidence. And with that, we come towards the end of this video. And let me reiterate that, my dear friend, confidence is not only about big stage performances. The real confidence or the real communication begins in the everyday conversation. And with that, I finish this video. I hope this video is helpful to you. And if you find this helpful, then like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Stay happy always.